During this holy season of Lent, we're often invited to take a journey, right? An inward one, to explore the landscape of our own hearts. But to get us started today, I want to take us on a bit of a different journey, an outward one. Let's go back in time to a world of old maps, brave ships, and what people thought was the very edge of the world.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. A 15th century explorer? What can he possibly teach us about our spiritual journey today? It might seem a little strange for Lent, I get it. But trust me, the story of this man who set sail centuries ago, well, it holds up a powerful mirror to our own journey of faith. His quest to find a new path, it reveals so much about our own need to see with new eyes. So let's dive into his story.
All right, so let's set the scene. We're in a world where the maps, they literally had edges. Seriously, based on the geography they knew at the time, that was it. The world just stopped. And if you wanted to get to the riches of India, well, pretty much everyone, explorers, scholars, you name it, they all believed there was only one way to do it, a long, dangerous journey south, all the way around Africa. That was just the accepted truth, no question.
But there was this one guy, Christopher Columbus, and he was absolutely convinced there had to be another way, a better, shorter path. And think about the courage that took. He had the guts to challenge everything the known world believed was true. So he did it. He set sail west, straight into the great unknown, flying in the face of all conventional wisdom.
So when he finally did make landfall in the islands we now call the West Indies, he was sure he'd done it. He was certain his theory was proven right. In fact, right up until the day he died, he was convinced he had landed in India. Isn't that something? His journey literally changed the map of the world, but his own understanding, it never quite caught up to how huge his discovery actually was.
And this, right here, is the heart of it all. There's no doubt Columbus was brave, but his vision? It was limited. He was trapped by his own map, you know? He couldn't recognize this incredible new world that was right in front of his eyes, all because he was so absolutely certain it had to be the old one he was looking for.
This story, this idea of being limited by your own map, it speaks so directly to our faith, doesn't it? Especially during Lent. It kind of forces us to ask, what are our blind spots? Not geographical ones, of course, but spiritual ones. And that question, it brings us right to a really tense scene in the gospel.
You see, just like Columbus, the Pharisees in the gospel were totally trapped by the maps they were holding in their own minds. They had this fixed idea of what the Messiah was supposed to be, a conquering king, right? A political liberator. So in the same way Columbus stood in a brand new world and could only see India, the Pharisees stood face to face with God in the flesh, and they just couldn't recognize him.
Their vision was so locked in on their own expectations that they had to ask Jesus this incredibly simple but also profoundly deep question: who are you? I mean, just think about that. They're looking right at the answer, but those internal maps of theirs, those preconceived notions, are completely blocking them from seeing what's right in front of their faces.
And Jesus' answer? It's a bit mysterious, and it points us toward the future. He tells them, "When you have lifted up the Son of Man, then you will know that I am He." They won't understand until He is lifted up. He's talking about the cross, of course. That's the moment He'll be lifted up in suffering, yes, but also ultimately in glory.
Because it's right there, on the cross, that Jesus finally and fully reveals who He is. And in doing that, He reveals the very heart, the very nature of God's love for every single one of us.
The Apostle John actually gives us the key to unlocking this whole thing. He writes that no one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. The greatest love we can even imagine, and that is exactly what we witness on the cross.
But then, on the cross, Jesus just explodes that definition. He takes it so much further than we could ever imagine. He shows us a love that isn't just for friends, but for enemies, a love for all humanity. We see His total obedience to the Father's will, His outstretched arms. They become this permanent, everlasting sign of God's mercy. It's a moment where forgiveness is just poured out, with no conditions, no limits.
So when we look at the cross, we see the truth about ourselves, yeah, but we also see the incredible truth of God's grace. We see our failures, for sure, but we also witness this amazing exchange. In the very places where we have failed, Christ has remained faithful. Where we've fallen short, His sacrifice restores our dignity completely as children of God. Okay, so what does this all mean for you and me? Right here, right now, in this season of Lent? Well, it all boils down to this. It's our personal invitation to start seeing with new eyes.
The main call of this season is actually really simple. It's an invitation to stop being like Columbus, so stuck on the map we're holding in our hands. It's a call to let God widen our vision, to let Him show us something beyond what we think we already know.
And the great thing is, this season gives us a way to actually practice this. So, number 1, we're invited to just gently loosen our grip on the things we're so sure about. Number 2, we can intentionally make a little quiet room in our busy lives, just create some space for God to show us something new. And finally, number 3, we can gaze upon the cross, but not with despair, with faith, seeing it for what it is, the ultimate sign of God's incredible, limitless love.
And let's be real for a second. It is so easy to feel discouraged these days. The news is overwhelming. Our own personal struggles can feel incredibly heavy. In times like these, we really need something or someone to lift our eyes and give us some renewed hope.
And that is the good news of the cross. It's the promise that we are not left alone in our struggles. God has come close. He has wrapped His arms around our human suffering, and by doing that, He has opened up a path for every single one of us to a new life.
So as we go into our week, I'll leave you with this question to think about. What are the old maps you're still clinging to so tightly? What new, undiscovered world of grace or mercy or maybe forgiveness? What new horizon is God inviting you to discover this Lent, if you just have the courage to look up and really see?